Unlock the power of AI in marketing with our new series, AI Agent. Dive into the world of SaaS tools, discover how marketing pros deploy bots, and explore the best use cases for AI in your marketing strategy. Only on Marketing in the Age of AI podcast with Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. Today we are going to dig in deep into the idea of automations and helping clean up your administrative work so you can spend less time clicking around and more time on high-valued projects. And my guest today is Jake Hissit, and he is living the expat dream in Thailand. He's a marketer focused on building scalable growth systems that combine automation with strategic insight. He develops solutions that help brands streamline ops and achieve consistent growth by integrating automated content and marketing workflows. Jake, thanks for taking some time tonight to talk to me.
Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for the introduction. That was phenomenal.
Oh,
Could have
awesome.
that every day.
I'm grateful for your time, and I know you got a busy schedule because this is the one thing in your workload you cannot automate, right?
Unfortunately, yeah. No, the real version of me is here tonight or today.
All right. Well, let's see. You have been you've built a couple hundred automations at this point, haven't you?
Yeah, more. I couldn't even say, just in terms of client automations, if you're talking small automated workflows, hundreds. If we're talking about how many active automations are actually powering the business, we're running over 200 active automations right now in Stob.AI, which is the business that I'm CEO of for over a year, but I've actually been actively developing AI automations now for 2 years. Started small, started with a direct consumer e-commerce agency, automated that, and then started to sell those solutions to other businesses.
I love it. Well, it's great that you're on the cutting edge and you're seeing a lot of activity from people who want to automate things and should automate things and shouldn't automate some other things. So, what are you recommending for people or business owners or managers as they're starting to think about and conceptualize automations in their workflows?
Yeah, there's really a few different ways to kind of tackle the integration of AI into the business. So there's numerous tools out there now. There's loads. I probably won't name all of them, but the big ones at the moment are N8N and make.com. Yeah. And I actually slide over to the make.com. Full disclosure, I'm a little bit biased as we're official partner agency of make.com. But there's tons of tools out there. Gumloop is another one. There's so many. So if you were a business owner with no hard coding experience, definitely search these tools and jump in at the deep end. The technology is there right now to be able to connect different pieces of software through APIs. In fact, we're going through the biggest technological revolution the world has ever seen. I mean, AI is more impactful than the iPhone, right? Everybody's using AI. If we took a show of hands from the audience right now, who's using ChatGPT? Everybody. Who's subscribing to a paid version of ChatGPT is probably also up there at 80% of probably the audience watching this show right now.
Yep. So what are some of the things that we should be thinking about as we're trying to figure out where to automate our business, how to automate it, and then, how do we get the team involved?
Yeah, great question. So I think that small businesses right now who are starting out have a massive potential leverage over established businesses because the AI has created such disruption in the space that all businesses should start to think, okay, how do we build our workflows around utilizing this technology? Yeah. And that gives a smaller business an advantage. Now, to come to your question about where people should start, obviously at the beginning, but if you've got an established business right now that has processes, that has workflows, there's two things that I would recommend. Number one, look for where the biggest bottlenecks of time are, because what this AI and the automation combined is really doing is giving your business or giving you the time back to invest in strategic activities. That time can also act as a lever on your cash flow. Effectively, time times money, like the cash flow coming into your business, is equal to scale, it's equal to growth. And therefore, if you've got time as a lever, and the more time you have, the bigger the lever, the bigger the scale within your business. So I'd start looking for what are the bottlenecks of time that you can really automate. They're usually simple tasks, operational tasks. However, if you've got really well established workflows, such as a sales process, because you're a traditional business that's been sending RFPs out, because you might be in a traditional business like event management per se, where you've got to send a request to an event manager to get equipment, then that's already a sales process that's been very well established within your industry. Because there's such a strict process, such as in A, B, and C. A, we find the lead. B, we send them a proposal. C, we create an invoice. Then we've actually got a set of instructions for a workflow that can be automated. And the other revolution that's not often talked about alongside the AI revolution is the software revolution. So we're going through this revolution, which I'm going to call the API revolution, the application interface revolution. And more software is opening up their application to be able to be integrated either with AI through the API or with another software platform. And what that's allowing businesses to do is move from more like monolithic software structures, whereby a business is reliant on one piece of expensive software, to create more composable architectures that deliver with more speed and precision.
I love it. Yeah. So we're seeing this change to what we would call sometimes mass customization, right? It's like, just like I get my latte exactly how I want it now, I can get my software exactly how I want it.
That's a great analogy. Yeah. I might have to take that one. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So let's see the work that you're doing now. When you're let's say you're integrating, like you just talked about, an interest. We send a proposal, we get money, we go send it to the bank, all these processes. When you're developing a system for that, is there a sandbox space that you're building this in, or do you have to have access to live data, or how does that work, Jake?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So actually, we can build in a sandbox. So for example, we can take data, test it, organize it, and see how that workflow can more or less effectively be rebuilt in a way that's managed by the software and not by a human. So there's a lot of different ways. We don't have to connect it end to end, especially when things like money or even content marketing, which is consumer facing and might have an effect on the brand image. We don't have to send that out to the public. We can test in an environment, make sure that the workflows actually work in terms of their architecture before sending them live. But in terms of how we actually develop these workflows with customers, active customers, we usually sit down and we do consulting. So we consult for the workflow and we consult for the technology stack. Another piece of software that I could recommend to your audience is Airtable. It's not nearly spoken about enough. There are other database softwares out there, but the reason that I like Airtable is because you are able to send information via a webhook. We've got a new phrase at Stob.AI, which is, where there's a webhook, there's a way. So we can send data any direction once we've got a webhook. And what building inside a database system like Airtable enables a business to do is create a knowledge base, a vector store for an AI. So there might be information in there that you may not want to give to the AI right now, but in the future, as the technology advances, at least it's structured in a format that an AI can come in and read it. And that will enable your business to transition and move faster once you do decide to integrate maybe that knowledge base into a workflow.
Yeah. And then how much support do you need from the company or from the brand in order to integrate these things into their stack?
You're asking all the right questions today. So I think one great example of this really is in content marketing. Content marketing is something that is kind of personal to the brand, right? People want to speak in their own voice. People want to share knowledge and insights that they are experts in. So we actually had to change our own way of like working our business model with some clients, because there is this maybe an expectation, an unfair expectation on AI to be a magic bullet, to be able to cure the problems. And yet at the same time, people are skeptical when it comes to content because they feel that they can write better than an AI, and they probably can. But our motto, our philosophy is, if you show me the inputs, I'll show you the outputs, because the inputs are going to be amplified by the AI and the workflow behind the content building process. In this example, if you're allowing AI to build the content, to actually create it, then of course it's probably going to be generic. You're not going to like it. But let me give you an example of a custom workflow that we actually use in Stob.AI. We had the same challenge. We had the same challenge as a lot of businesses. So the way that we set up content marketing is, I'll post on LinkedIn because I care about the content that I create on LinkedIn.
Sure.
My social media manager is not an expert in AI automation. That's not her job. She's there to manage the social media. She's not there to be an expert in AI automation. So once I post on LinkedIn, the content is grabbed through a webhook, taken into a database, which is Airtable, and then we distribute that content into hundreds of Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups automatically. So you turn a post that might only have a few thousand impressions into a post that has 20,000 impressions. And you can be confident in the quality because the source of the quality is the author. It's you, as opposed to letting AI generate content on your behalf. You could still oversee it, but the chances are that you're only going to use 10% of the 100% of the content that it creates, because 90% of it's not going to be very useful. So we apply that logic with a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different setups of how we create the content, but we always have to be very mindful of the input is only going to be amplified throughout the process by the AI.
Right. Yeah, that's the classic garbage in, garbage out, right? If you don't have good inputs, then you're not going to like what comes out of it. I like that. I also like how you're making sure your brand voice is clean and authentic, and then using your source material to amplify out into other platforms.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about like some of the most complex automations that you've done up to this point. How many steps and pieces of different software and webhooks and APIs and the down and dirty part?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our position, for those that are not familiar with us, is 5 words. I saw this great post on Twitter a few months ago. Sell your business in 5 words, and that effectively became the core proposition of what we do, which is custom built AI automation systems. So we're really a business that's set up to develop a system that runs through the whole cycle of the business. So if it's a sales business, or let's say it's a hospitality business, there's a prospecting, then there may be an outreach looking for customers. It might come from ads, it might come from outreach on LinkedIn. Either way, there's an outreach phase. Then the client comes in, there's like almost like a prospecting. They deliver the itinerary. Let's say it's a holiday. Do you like this holiday? And then there's a backwards and forwards. Now, what we're doing is we're automating people's entire businesses and people's business throughout that sales cycle, from the person coming in, them going on holiday, and then a follow-up. Did you like our holiday? Can we get a review? All of that is being automated. Now, within that process, you've probably got, I know for a fact that one has about 20 different workflows. Now, within those workflows, you've got maybe 3 or 4 different AI agents that are writing content, transforming one type of content from another, maybe adds an HTML template to an email to send to a customer to get a review or a bit of feedback post the holiday. And all of that can be completely customized as well. Everybody's holiday is different, which means that AI agent is reading what happened or what their trip itinerary was, and then personalizing or customizing that email with an immense amount of precision. It's not just a copy and paste. Hey, we know you went on your holiday. It will say, we know that you went to holiday in the Bahamas at this time and stayed in this hotel. Please tell us what you think. So it actually replaces the operation of somebody's daily task.
Yeah,
So,
and not only that, but you could also set up an agent that would go and crawl their social, right? And even pull pictures or comments that they had about their holiday that way.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I might have showed you at some point, giving you a little bit of a sneak peek into one of the systems, but we actually have an AI sales SDR, so a sales development representative. And what it does is that once somebody has been qualified into our system as a potential lead, it will go to their LinkedIn profile and it will take the data and run a profile analysis on this person to understand their career, their trajectory, even the way that they talk, so that we can customize emails to the tone that will fit that person.
Beautiful.
We run the analysis on their brand, their position. We run about the industry that that company is in, as well as research around that company. And then we use all of those data points to hyper personalize an email outreach to that person. Say, hey, we understand you. We know who you are. We know everything about you. We know the way that you talk. And here's why you would benefit from buying our solution. So we can create hyper personalization. That workflow consists of 6 different workflows, and integrated into it, especially in the research part, we're probably running about 10 to 15 AI agents.
Yeah. And so talk to me a little bit about how you're structuring the manager agent and then the action agents.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have there's so many. So for example, let's just take a simple workflow. Let's say that we want to go to your LinkedIn profile. Firstly, what we're going to do is we're going to access via the API. We're going to download that information with a server request. Like, we'll send information from the server and say, give us the information on this web page. We'll then feed that information into a module like OpenAI. So an AI agent that is set up with a specific prompt to be able to determine or extract a particular type of information out of that person's LinkedIn profile. Now, we adjust it every time, because let's say that product, like one product might be a 90-day integrated sprint, and another product might be to sell AI automation. You're going to want to know different things about that person. Sure. If you're going to send something where it's like you want to correct their messaging, the extraction of the data is going to be about what are the flaws or the weak points of this person that we can adjust. Whereas if you want to sell them automation, you might want to know what their experience, their knowledge is in, so that you can sell them things that they will understand. Now, once we've extracted that information and created a report with an AI agent, then we can pass that information to an email writing agent. So one agent that is responsible for creating the report on the person passes that information. Is actually databased in between, but it will still database that information and store it in a way that another agent that's going to write the email is going to grab that and then pass it. So we've got a research agent that is therefore passing to a different agent, which is an email agent. And they've got the email writing agent. Human comes in, maybe they proofread the email, they tick send. Once we're happy with the prompt, we don't even need a human in the process. We always advise people at first, but slowly, as the technology evolves, then there's less human oversight in the process.
Love it. Let's see. So essentially, we could say in this situation, an agent is a single action prompt that then it has a place that it's taking the information it grabs, so that another agent that's a single prompt can then act on it.
That is one way. However, agents can be more complicated. We can give agents access to certain knowledge bases, to adapted language models, for example, like image creation, and actually extract different information inside an agent. So this is a very basic version of an agent that's actually just creating based upon like text. It's a text-based natural language process, but we can actually give those like text-based NLP agents different access to knowledge bases. Perhaps they needed to fetch the price of a website, the price of a holiday. We might have a bank of information inside that agent so that once we scrape that information, we can actually make the output more robust by feeding it information from a different data store. There are circumstances where we do that. It really depends upon the architecture of how that process is built, such as retrieval augmented generation is something that we use. And a good example for where we do it, because we specialize in marketing and sales, is in comment moderation. So we actually, for some big agencies, I won't say who, but we actually run their comment management over multiple channels like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, in multiple languages, in multiple markets. Now, let's say that a comment comes in to the Instagram and they're asking a question, or they might just have a normal. First of all, we've got to determine what kind of response is this comment going to need? Yep. Is it a question? If it's a question, is that question frequently asked? If the question is frequently asked, the agent will go to the knowledge base and search the knowledge base for, do we have the answer to this question? If we do, it can retrieve the answer and then pass it. That's a typical RAG, retrieval augmented generation, setup for an AI agent. So different agents can have different architecture and different access to different sources of information.
I love it. Well, we could go down this rabbit hole all day, Jake, but I know you got a lot of other things to do. I appreciate you describing the agents and how you're doing building these agents for clients. People want to get in touch with you. Well, how do they do that?
Well, they can search my name. I'm active on LinkedIn. I do actually also have a YouTube channel, so they can see some of my earlier work. It's a bit rough. I know I need to get back to it. Or they can find me at Jake at Stob.AI. Stob being STOB. It's bots backwards.
I love it.
Early in the game.
Well, it's great stuff. I appreciate you describing your projects, and I'm looking forward to having you on the show again in about 3 months, and we can see what's changed and what hasn't changed then.
Absolutely.
All right, Jake. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Emanuel.
Yep. Well, we maybe went a little deeper than some of you could understand or could think about, but the concept is clear, which is to outline the process by steps on some type of a flow chart, and then taking that flow and figuring out where the software can be connected and help to save time in your sales and marketing process and other administrative tasks, and that you then use that time for some high value activity like reaching out to your best clients or finding some other AAA clients, or taking some time off and going outside with your friends and family and spending some time in the great outdoors. It's Emanuel Rose, Marketing Age of AI. Hope to see you again real soon.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.